So I just rebuilt my Uber gaming PC. Let's talk about what I did and why I did it. So as I've discussed in some prior videos, I moved my gaming PC up to my living room from my basement rack to facilitate better access and reliability for gaming controllers. Wireless controller signals just can't get through our new bigger couch, through the floor and the wall over to where the PC sits downstairs. So my original build was this unique open air concept, which was perfect when the PC was sitting in a closed door storage room. The open air build was incredibly easy to work in and tinker on, and everything always ran very cool. But that build didn't really suit, for now at least, sitting open in our main living space, both for the more raw visual appeal of it and for the danger of parts getting bumped, damaged, or potentially chewed on by our cat. I also found I made a careless mistake in my original build. I went with a big 1300 watt power supply, a Seasonic model, to power multiple GPUs for mining. However, I didn't really pay attention to fan noise because the PC was sitting downstairs in a closed door room. Turns out though, I bought a really loud power supply. It didn't matter downstairs, but up here, that power supply fan was actually proving to be the loudest part of the open air build. So for the power supply, I did some more complete research this time and decided, while I'm gonna stick with Seasonic, I side graded to a different model, a Prime TX850 Titanium. The Seasonic Titaniums are very well reviewed and regarded as some of the quietest power supplies around. Perfect. And they were actually purchasable in our hardware shortage era. As I don't have more mining aspirations really, I was also fine dropping the power down to an 850 watt model, which also dropped the cost of swapping it out. It's plenty of power for long-term single GPU gaming. On the case side, I've been partial to Fractal for a long time. My last several PC builds and builds that I've recommended to friend have all been Fractals, particularly their Define series cases. So I did stick with them, but in this case I actually went with a Meshify 2. I considered the Define again, but I wanted a window this time. In the superior airflow of the Meshify, given the hot parts that are going to be in here, a 3090 RTX GPU and the 11900K Intel CPU, I think the Meshify made more sense. Everything else that I was using transplanted as is. So the Asus Z590 motherboard, the Intel 11900K, the EVGA 3090, they all came over, as well as the same RAM, solid state drive, and all-in-one CPU cooler as I was using in the open air build. My queue position still hasn't come up for an EVGA 3080 Ti, but it's getting closer every day. Building in the Meshify was actually really nice. Rebuilding wasn't quite as exciting to me as the original build. I even commented to my wife while I was doing it that maybe I'd rather just plug in a console and play than deal with this, but here we are. The case itself though is great. Cable routing was exceptional, and I think I've assembled probably my cleanest looking build yet from every side. I went with the gray model for the slightly tinted glass, and it really puts the parts on display in a nice way, although it does make for lots of glare, as you can probably see in the pictures and even in this video. The downside of going from open air to this enclosed build now though is the trade-off of looks and parts protection for thermal performance and noise. The enclosed case has 3 more case fans than the open air one did, as it really had no extra case fans. Everything in the enclosed build now also runs hotter because it's inside. Thus, the entire fan set has to actually throttle up, which didn't happen in the open air case. All in all though, this is still a better call for me for the machine being in this room. But what's next? I'm still hoping to swap out the 3090 for a 3080 Ti, and I'm actually hoping that this will help the thermals. The Ti is supposed to run cooler because RAM is the hottest part of the GPU, and the 3080 Ti has half the RAM of the 3090. So a Ti in this case might hopefully run just as fast as a 3090 in its actual game performance if it manages better temps inside the case and opens up higher thermal limits. We'll see. I can only wait to get one and then test it out. I would also consider swapping the various case fans and perhaps even the radiator fans for Noctuas. I've always replaced case fans in my prior builds using Noctuas, as they consistently excel on air volume relative to noise. But if the Noctuas can move more air into and out of this case and be quieter in the process, that's a double win. I'm also still considering options for final placement. I have wife acceptance to leave the PC here in the living room for now, just sitting in front of the television if I want to. It's not like our living space isn't full of other kids' toys anyway. But I'm considering maybe just putting the machine directly downstairs in our theater, right below this room. Wireless controller signals couldn't get to the storage room from here through the couch and through the extra wall, but they might be able to, or they could go straight down just fine. I've tried game streaming the other direction with the PC here and playing in the theater via Apple TV using Moonlight, and it works solid. I was playing in the theater with wireless controllers sunk to the computer just above the room through the floor, and it worked perfectly. I think it can go the other way just as well. My long-term goal is to have this single machine connectable and gameable relatively easily from both the living room and in the theater. Placing it up here or down there should accomplish that goal with just slightly different cable routing and access logistics depending on which room the computer actually ends up in. I'll continue to document my tweaks along with content on in-home game streaming, long HDMI runs, wireless reliability, and more in future videos. I also still have an Xbox Series X hooked up here in the living room as I continue my ongoing PC versus console debate. I've been A/B testing various games on the PC and the Xbox, and it's amazing how just the PC slays the console every time in quality. But the simplicity of things just working on console is huge as well. Case in point, the 20 minutes it took yesterday to restore working audio on the PC when my son and I tried to play some Lego DC. Of course, I am running Windows 11, I'm installing drivers qualified for Windows 10, so in some respects I'm kind of inviting some complexity into my life, but still. So tune in for more, and please like and subscribe. Every time you do, my fan noise gets a little quieter.